Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of the Bo Knows Business. I'm your girl, Nick Kober. I am delighted and honored to be the founder of the Bo Collective. We are 50 Black women owners who have started and scaled our businesses to over $1 million. And we are here to kind of tell you how we got started, tell us our strategies are good and bad, the good, bad, and ugly of entrepreneurship, but also just seeing how we are hoping to change the game as women owners coming together and going after business and making it better. All right. So today I have the pleasure of having one of my literal home girls from Oakland, California to join me. Her name is Rue Mapp. She is the founder of a nonprofit, Outdoor Afro, and I am so excited for you all to meet her.
Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
I'm so happy to see you. As we just kind of talked offline, I have had the pleasure. I feel like I am totally like BFFs with like where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Like if she were a Black girl.
Right, right.
You have an amazing business. We're gonna totally get to that story in a minute. But just like we do with all of our Bo sisters, I want to know your becoming story. I want to know what little Rue growing up in the Bay was like. Can you share that story with us?
Yeah, I had so many sometimes it's easy to look back and see how all the dots fit together. But when you're in it and you're growing up, it feels like normal. Like everybody's growing up this way and everyone's got the same experiences. And definitely I had shared experiences in my community in Oakland where I was born and raised. And I lived in the Oakland Hills and I had the same friends from elementary school all the way through high school who lived in the neighborhood with me. And that was a real privilege to have relationships like that really helped me to stay solid. But in other ways, my family was really unique. They were from the South, my mom from Louisiana, my dad from Texas, and they were country people. Okay. So even though we lived in the Oakland Hills, we kind of had this like Beverly Hillbillies kind of vibe, right? They were very
Well, what
much.
brought them? What brought them? I mean, were they? I feel like they were a little young to be a part of the Great Migration. But what made them kind of come out west?
Yeah, and so that's the other piece that's unique to me is that this was my adopted family. So I was brought into the home of a mother who was already 50, a father who was in his mid 50s. And so they had done their migration during the peak time,
Mhm.
which actually didn't end in Oakland until the early 70s. And
Yeah,
so they came in
right.
the late 40s. They had, trouble having a baby. They finally were able to in the 50s, but just loved children so much. And so she always had children in her life. And so I came to them when I was just under 2 years old. And it changed my whole life's trajectory because here are these folks who were in a much more leisurely time of their lives. They weren't working the 9 to 5s. They were definitely in a tapered down phase of their professional life. They had, a real solid foundation. But the other things that they brought into my life was this love of nature and the outdoors. And so they had a family ranch that they built up in Lake County, about 30 miles north of Napa. And it was a place of true exploration of nature. We had cows, we had pigs, we had fruit trees everywhere. There were grapevines. My dad actually made wine.
I love
It was
that. Oh,
real, and it was like, I
you
mean,
were born into the Garden of Eden, girl. As far as I'm concerned, your dad
yes,
made wine. Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Hello.
Yes, and so I had these two worlds. I had, my Oakland world and I had my Lake County world. And the thing that was consistent between the two were the values of welcoming and hospitality. because people would come from our church. They'd come from the extended family from all over Oakland, Richmond, and they would share holidays and special events at the ranch with us. Me and my cousins would put on talent shows, and we would take all these beautiful walks and country roads with, or get on our bike, or go down and visit the creek and see if the pollywogs had turned into a frog. And so it was a magical way of bringing together both an urban lifestyle with one that was rural. And then I always was an entrepreneur, so I'm still, holding the reputation of making the best Kool-Aid and fried chicken and selling it.
I know that's right. I know that's right.
Selling things. I learned to sew at a young age, and my first business was actually making prom dresses. I made my own.
Really?
Yep, I made my own prom dresses, and I went on to do bridal and interiors in my early 20s.
Okay.
And I will definitely circle back to that later as we talk more about what's happening with Outdoor Afro today. But I would just say that, the values of hard work and, and just because they came from the South, my parents brought that we can make a way out of no way mindset,
Yes.
and all things were possible. And, here are my parents who had a very limited education, and they had really, through a lot of discipline and hard work, created a really comfortable life for themselves that they were able to extend to not only me, but to many in the community. And so those are the things that really shaped me growing up in my family in Oakland and in Northern California.
I mean, again, you've heard me say it before, but it's like you're another pearl in our bow necklace. And I see a lot. I mean, it is almost without fail the intense positivity that parents instilled, that you can do anything is possible. It's like our parents brainwashed us into believing in ourselves, brainwashed us into saying whatever you dream, you can manifest that. And it obviously it holds true with you as well.
Yeah, I mean, my folks they had the kind of work ethic. I remember when I started working at Baskin and Robbins
Mm-hmm.
over on Seminary and MacArthur in Oakland in
Yes.
the 80s. And, my dad gave me some good advice. He goes, even if there's not a customer there, just be wiping on something,
Yeah.
like, and have
Just
some,
wipe it down.
get up about you, so don't
Yes.
just work, but like
Right.
really, really put some extra on it, and
Yes. Yes.
be enthusiastic about your service, and so
Mhm.
that also, continues to be an important value in the work of Outdoor Afro. Like, don't just show up,
Right.
in any old kind of way, but like, you can be your best self no matter what the profession is. I don't care if we're in the middle of nowhere. I don't care if we're, an outdoorsy organization. You can put on a little lip gloss.
Yeah.
We-
I know. That, that ponytail lit. I love it. I love it. Well, let's pivot a bit to, let's talk about your business. Let's talk about your nonprofit. So we definitely see where the seeds were planted, and mentioned that you were an entrepreneur. You had that entrepreneurial mindset, hard work ethic. Anything is possible, and definitely know where the undercurrent of the outdoors is a foundation. Tell me about that first step in your putting Outdoor Afro together. Like, how did that come about?
Yeah, I mean, the
And
way.
what is it? Let me pull back, because I know intimately, but tell us what it is and tell us how you got started.
Yeah, well, Outdoor Afro is a not-for-profit organization that celebrates and inspires Black leadership and connections to nature. And we do that through getting folks into the outdoors through our volunteer network who are in 30 states, 56 cities, and we have a participation network today of over 60,000 1,000 people, and they're getting out and hiking and biking and camping and bird watching and all the things you can imagine that really center Black joy in everything that we do. And I started it as a blog back in 2009, a blog on my heart after growing up the way I did and continuing to pursue outdoor activities with my family. And as a young family, it was really economically like a good decision to do a camping trip because you could get so much, experience in nature for not a lot of money. And so I was doing bike rides, group bike rides. I was joining hiking groups. And I always felt like something was missing in those opportunities. There weren't, especially when I got out of Oakland. When you're in cities like Oakland, you can go to the lake, you can go to the Oakland Hills, and you're going to see people who look like you. But once you get away from the cities or, more higher adventure activities, you don't necessarily see people who look like you. And so I was tired of being the only one. I
Mhm.
was also tired of benefiting from all of these wonderful experiences and knowing how my community could benefit too.
Yes.
And so I knew that the outdoors had taught me about inner strength. It taught me about resiliency. It taught me peace and how to find my center in the world. It helped me get closer to my family because my kids, we get on a camping trip, the conversations we would have in the absence of screens, were so much richer and deeper. And so I just had said, I was talking to a mentor and I was thinking about going to grad school. I had, pivoted from a career working in finance and I was, really thinking about my next steps. And I had already started a game store with my former husband, which is still a going concern in Oakland. And I knew like if I could do that,
Yes.
like
Yes.
what's possible for something I'm passionate about. And my
Right.
mentor asked me a question that I think everybody should be asked or answered. And she
Mhm.
was like, if time and money were not an issue,
Yeah.
what
What
would you
would you
do?
be? Yeah.
You know what?
Mm.
Sometimes what you're supposed to be doing is hiding out in plain sight.
Yeah. Yes. You're so right.
I opened my mouth and my life fell out. I said, I'd probably start a website to reconnect Black people to the outdoors.
Oh my gracious. I love
And
it.
we both stood back in this moment of truth and revelation.
Yes.
And 2 weeks later, I whimsically said, I'm going to start a blog called Outdoor Afro. Let me go ahead and grab this Google template over here
Let me
and
exactly.
let me just start talking about my life and what I wanted to. And this was in 2009. Social media was very, very new.
Mhm.
So I had a moment when the algorithms were flat. And from my kitchen table, I was able to have and build this audience that reflected back to me the reality I knew.
Yes.
And that was that
Oh,
Black
it's
people
harmony. Yes.
already, we already had a relationship with the outdoors.
Yes.
I
Yes.
didn't invent it. And so I recognized that we had a representation problem, that we weren't in the glossy magazines of the day.
Yes.
We were not
Yes.
being represented in the outdoors as strong, beautiful, and free. And
Yes.
so Outdoor Afro became a platform to tell a new narrative, but also people wanted to find out how to get out with people. They were so inspired through the stories and through the images. And that's when I just started the Outdoor Afro leadership team in 2012 with just 12 people who said they'd try it with me. And this year's class is almost 120 men and women, and we recruit and we train and we provide ongoing education. And these are not like experts in the outdoors. These are people,
Mhm.
I've got human rights attorneys, real estate professionals, preschool teachers, military vets, people who could be all up in your family.
Mhm.
And they all share this passion, this fire in their belly to connect people to the outdoors. And that's what I look for. And, every weekend is an inspiration with this team.
So My heart is racing. My eyes behind the glasses are a little watery because we haven't had the occasion to do this, right? We haven't been able to truly connect. You said, hey, you putting your thing together, I'm there, sign me up. But what you said is that in your heart you knew that this community existed, it just wasn't reflected anywhere. And I too, I have the knowingness that we have these amazing Black women entrepreneurs that are not only surviving but thriving.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just that we are not represented. The C, our communication is not represented there, and the community of it all. That is the power, the community that Outdoor Afro can galvanize, can lend face to and support with something that is already there. That is something I deeply I believe in, that I want to see reflected. I want women to know we exist. I want the greater community to know that these women are out here just as you have done that. And so I'm just so grateful for this conversation. Grateful that you listened to your own spirit and acted on it. I'm grateful to your mama for asking you that question, what would you do? And we all have um, that same wish, desire in us, but where is it activated? And I think that's what the importance of these communities is, that it gives you license to live, it gives you license to dream and connect up with the resources. So I just salute you, sister.
Oh, no, I salute you too, because, to be in this community of other professionals who are, you know, elevating and can provide, because, when people ask me, what's the goal of Outdoor Afro? Like when I think my work is mostly done, it's not, a ticker tape parade.
Right.
It's not a, a big splashy magazine interview. It is that quiet moment where you will look up and you will see people outside loving on nature, being themselves in nature in proportion to their population and their opportunity, and it's no big deal. So we are really in a race to ordinary. Like this is not about
That is
exceptional
ex-
anymore.
it's so true. I said that. I said it's not that we are not magical, but we're not unicorns. We are not mythical, because when you highlight that we are so extraordinary, then we can't be replicated, right? But when
Right.
you highlight that, hey, we're out here, we've been out here, you just chose not to see us. That is the power of community. You have to show we are here, we are in existence, because you can obviously do more. You can bring awareness to issues with the collective when you're seen, not as, why am I going to devote resources if there's only one Black woman business? Right?
Right.
Well, if there's only one, do they really need? Are you really underrepresented? But if I show you the mass, if I show you the numbers, you got to bring it, right?
That's right. Absolutely.
I love it. I love it. So let me ask you to give some advice. So this is kind of the third chapter. And I
Yeah.
definitely want you to speak not just to starting a business, because I think that's powerful, but let's talk about the nonprofit space. I've
Mhm.
got a lot of businesses that I have coached, and they have so many things like you. They want to educate, they want to inspire. Give us some strategies for how you have scaled a nonprofit.
Yeah, and one of the things I'm careful to always say is that we are not for profit. But absolutely, every year is profitable at Outdoor Afro. Now, we're not building wealth for, it's a different scale.
Yes.
But I think that the thing that kept me actually from becoming a not-for-profit for so long, because Outdoor Afro was a solopreneur venture between 2009 and 2015, when I finally stood up the not-for-profit organization. And just last year, I stood up Outdoor Afro Incorporated. And that's to help us be able to do some of the things that you're limited to do as a not-for-profit, because your money that you receive as a public charity has to be for your charitable benefit. So you can't get into the business of, manufacturing goods and, and providing, paid for services. Outdoor Afro experiences are mostly 100% free and open to everybody. We're teaching Black children how to swim as a way of tackling this incredible drowning rate of Black children ages through 19. 5 through 19, Black children are drowning at 5 times the rate of white children. And that's our inheritance from Jim Crow policies that prohibited us from getting into pools, right? And so we have a very strong charitable benefit. But one thing I think is important for people to know, if you are in the not-for-profit business, is that you have a business. And
Tell
there
it for
there are
those in the back.
yeah, I don't, even though the business activities are different, your business acumen, your comfort with your finances, and nonprofit finances have their different rules and their different ways that things get categorized, but generally it's the same. You should know your budget. You should know, I mean, I know it's not sexy to think about operations, but I have really been just passionate about business operations alongside the passion for the mission of the organization. And oftentimes it can be a little lopsided, right? Like you really are passionate about your program, but not so much about the operations. But see, when I look at an organization, you can tell me whatever you want to tell me, but your finances or your 990 is going to
Yes.
tell me the truth.
Yes.
So
Numbers don't lie.
numbers don't
lie.
lie. Like when people tell me that they, care about diversity, but they don't have a budget to pay for this and that, I go and look at that 990 and I go, oh, I see where your priorities are. And your priorities line up to how you spend your money and who you get your money from.
That is
And
a
so,
word. We'll be quoting you all over the internet. That is
and
right.
so for me, it's like if you want to be a not-for-profit organization, do everything you can to make sure that your systems, whether it be QuickBooks, Salesforce, that you also have a good team, you have a good finance person, that you have someone who can manage your operations and really help you to stay in the strategy of in your leadership role, but never ever be unaware of what's happening with your finances. And there's joy in that. Like, I love talking about money. I love fundraising. I love the energy of love that comes into the organization through financial investment. And so Outdoor Afro has, as an organization, a culture of gratitude, so that when you do get those donations, always acknowledge those donations, always write a thank you note. Or if it's over, an amount that you expected, pick up the phone and call people and thank them. And I can credit, that culture of gratitude for being responsible for why people give to Outdoor Afro over and over again. Because again, people, they may love your mission, it may be an important mission, but at the end of the day, people give to people. And when people part with their resources, it doesn't matter if it's $10 or $10,000, it's a big deal. So, stewardship of donors, knowing your finances, and really embracing headlong into your finances, and just being able to talk about those top line details. You ask me what my budget is, I know what that is. If you want to know how our money comes in, I can tell you. I don't need to go and call anybody. So you want to just have like your finances and your business acumen super dialed in. And if you don't know, that's okay. It's all learnable. You can go to something like Compass Point that now has online courses for nonprofit finance management. Highly recommend. Blue Avocado for development professionals. You know, you don't have to hire a development professional to be a good fundraiser. So there's just I love talking about this stuff. So you can also reach out to me if you have a very pointed finance or fundraising question, and I can definitely let you know what's worked for Outdoor Afro. That's exceeded its revenue by over $2 million in the last 2 years, and we just incorporated as a not-for-profit in 2015. So in our very first year, soaking wet, we had $110,000 in revenue. So it has been a story of growth, but it's been a lot of work and stewardship that has gone, hand in hand with that growth that I really, don't get to talk about a lot. But in this company, I
I'm
think it's really important
so,
to talk about.
so great. I mean, just ping, ping, ping. Like all of my synapses, neurons. I mean, you're speaking all my little love languages, girl.
Aw,
Because seriously, because, being a business coach, that is the area that a lot of entrepreneurs, for profit, nonprofit, the numbers are intimidating.
yeah.
And so I try to find the most basic ways for you to understand your story, how the money comes in, how the money goes out, and what's left over and why. And again, when you are out of balance and you have passion for the mission, but you don't have passion for the money, you can't do the mission
No.
without money, right?
And
You
you
can't,
rob the mission. You
and
rob
you rob the mission.
and that is a very important distinction, because I find that a lot of not-for-profit executive leadership are too involved in program. They're too involved in program delivery. You ain't seeing me leading no outdoor Afro hikes. Not in the last 2 or 3 years. And when I do, it's with a donor. It's a VIP experience. It's not, every weekend I'm packing up and taking the participants out, because it's important to have enough separation so that you can focus your time and attention, because program work can be very labor intensive. It's not that you're too good for it. It's just that you will begin to rob the mission and the opportunity for scale and growth if you are the program provider.
And
Um,
you're the CEO. At the bottom line, it starts and ends with you. And if I mean, and I do agree with you, if you don't know it, learn it, but you have fundamentally got to understand your finance story. You've got to, all of it has to be symbiotic with why you're doing it. And I have, I can attest, I've seen really good efforts go down the drain, because they're like, I'm not about the money. I'm like, oh, stop, like, clutch the
that's
pearls, do not say say that.
yeah,
And particularly, and I'll say, I hear it more from women than men. And why do I say that? Because it's true. I have heard only women say, I'm not about the money. And I think somewhere along the way, either we were not empowered to talk about money, we abdicated responsibility to someone else about money, and we have to re-engineer our thinking about that. So I just thank you so much for bringing that. We are well over our time, but this was so rich.
oh,
This
too
is
soon.
so
We
rich.
got to do a part
I
two.
know we need a dose. There, I know our tribe is gonna call, knock it on. Look, they're gonna be out in the woods, like, where is the money talks?
I would love that. I mean, and it's a journey, let me not, conflate my passion for the reality that we're all on the journey. Even,
Yes.
I'm on the journey, and it's your personal finance story, it's your business finance story. There's so much that works
Yes.
together.
It does.
And you're right. I feel like women and Black people, like, having access to leadership in the economy is still a muscle that we have the opportunity to develop better right
Yes, no,
now.
it's so true, and
And it's
I
it's
will
okay.
leave. I want to leave you with that because I want to talk about the Bow Collective, and
Yes.
what your vision is for it. But I will frame it in this: that we have our three C's: contracts, communication, and capital. And while we start off saying, hey, we want to be able to access capital for our businesses, I had the pleasure of recently interviewing Sheila Johnson for an award with the WBC organization. And she talked about her passion of educating more women to have capital conversations, to talk not just about, okay, I need a line of credit for my business, but talking about, generational wealth, talking about, just multiple streams of revenue, multiple businesses.
Yeah.
And that is my evolved desire for the collective, that yes, I want to get us some money for our businesses, but I really want us to start to invest together in our communities together. I want us to have more sophisticated, empowered, flex that financial muscle a bit more. And so with that, I'd love to see what your thoughts and dreams are for the Bow Collective and Black women owners, what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, I mean, it brings me like so much joy to see women in their flow. And what you've curated is an opportunity for us. I think about Maya Angelou a lot around what she said in her poem, "And Still I Rise," and that last line, "I am the dream and the hope of the slave." And I think about how few generations separate you and I from a moment when there were not nearly the kind of opportunities we have right now. And so I'm present every day in my work to whose shoulders I stand on and what debt has been paid for me to have the chance to be the head of a national not-for-profit organization. Like that's if you go back to the 1940s, that'd be mind-blowing. And then when I think about the Bow, it's not the exceptional, but like the new norm setting that the Bow is in its number, it's mind-blowing when you think of it from that perspective. And so I feel like we have a chance to pay homage to the past, not live in the past, but remember that we have so much to build on. And we can work not from a pain and deficit body, but work from our joy, from our existing capacity to do great things in the world, but importantly for ourselves and for our community. And so I just love how Bow brings all of that together. That's why it was definitely hitting all my synapses when you reached out about joining, because I was like, yeah, these are my people. And we have this great grand opportunity to learn from one another and be inspired, and importantly know that we're not the only ones.
I leave you with that very powerful statement. When we got together in February for our first meeting, that was the power, that we ceased to be the only one in the room that looked like us. There was a sea of green, a sea of smiles, a sea of intellect, of joy, of hope, of connectedness. And what can you not build off of with all of that coming into synchronicity and agreement with each other.
Yes.
I thank
Thank
you
you. Thank
so much.
you. Thank you so much for your vision and for opening the door so selflessly and wide for all of these amazing women to come together and have community and have strength and to really together change the world. So
I believe it,
I'm
sister. You are
honored.
doing you my I was gonna claim you as my Oakland sister. You are
Yes.
so much more. You're so, and you know how I love Oakland, but this half hour, you are the world's sister. And I'm just so grateful that we're gonna be able to get to know each other even better on this journey.
Yes. Yes, I'm looking forward to it too. Thank you so much for having me.
How can they stay in contact? I know they would kill me if I don't ask.
Oh gosh, you can follow me on Outdoor Afro. That's the organization. And you can follow my adventures personally on Rue Mapp. I have my own website, ruemapp.com. And then I also have, my hunting world, Black Heritage Hunt. So I got some different flavors out there,
I
depending on
love
what you're
it.
looking for.
I love it, sister. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us.
Thank you.
And that concludes another amazing episode of the Bow Nose Business. I am your host. I'm so full of love and inspiration. Once again, I thank you to my amazing sister, Rue Mapp. Please join us, share this. Don't let this be a secret. All of these beautiful sisters telling their beautiful stories of inspiration, overcoming adversity, and scaling their businesses one Black woman at a time. Take care and hope to see you again next week.